Whew, holy crap. Luckily I saw that in time because what happened was I was recording but didn't have any audio on. I hit the mute button on accident on my microphone. It was blinking so I saw it. Thank God. Now we're going to look for cross-site scripting and I kept it for last intentionally on a site like this. Because when it comes to it as a user, there's not a whole lot I can do here. There isn't something a user can do that other users would see. What you could test for on here, for example, though, would be blind XSS. And blind XSS, that's a different story, of course. So what I've done is I've gone to webhook.site and I have another one of those links right here that I can use. And there it is. So if I see requests coming in there, I know that a request is actually coming in. It's giving me a proper JavaScript that can do a request. And I can see that anywhere if I go into the developer console right here, it says indeed don't paste anything in here unless you know what you're doing. Thank God I am a master hacker. And in here I can see refusal to connect because it doesn't follow the course specific policies. Of course not. I'm on ChatGPT. So where should I go? Localhost. Here, if I inspect and in console, this is a different story. Here I can see failed to read cookie property from the document, access is denied. And when I return to here, I can not see anything coming in terms of requests. So what could I do to make this work, or at least try to make this work? Because I do want to see if this works at the very least. So I can just open a simple request, but once again, not from ChatGPT, out from the website that I'm actually doing it. Now what I meant is I can do the request in the console anywhere. It doesn't mean that the course policies will be respected properly, of course. Here we can say again, course policy blocked. No headers present for the requested resource. Request failed. That doesn't mean that it's actually going to fail. And we are lucky because we can test this. First things first. If I want to test this, what am I going to do? I will be registering register.php. My full name is going to be an attack vector, not for my own section, but in the orders. So my full name needs to be something in one line. Make it in one line, please, so I can make it as my email or like the username. It should be here. The email still needs to be a proper email, so I'm just going to put like a bunch of shit here, and then let's do this. This is basically doing a proper script fetch, inserting JavaScript code. This is using XHR, this is using fetch. There's not a whole, like you shouldn't care about the difference. I'm not going to explain it here, but what I will do is I'm going to put that in as my username. Now, do I even know that there's cross-site scripting here? No. So first, confirm that. So just this can also be the password, could be the email, could also be the email's password. So the email and the password, email is already registered to that, okay? So to that, we can just add a 2 at the end or whatever. So now I have a 2 at the end of the username, not of the password, making it a lot easier for myself. Oh, you see, making it very easy for myself, and I actually log in. Okay, now I need to put in an order. So view, add to cart, product added to cart, put in the order. Enter coupon code, doesn't matter here. I'm going to put in that same shit everywhere. because I want to see if this works. Do I want to do it like this? I could, but I could also just do it through the, yes, you guessed it, just going to go through the repeater that we have here already. And this is why it pays to properly, to properly name your tabs. We're just going to replace all of these parameters here. Full name, email, address, cart item. I can just test this really easily because it takes that full name, email, and address and cart. And in doing that, I've also stumbled across another logic issue. The full name, the email, you can enter whatever email you want when ordering. That's not good now, is it? So whenever you enter any email when ordering, of course you can imagine, in one moment, we'll note this down later, for when we report, note any enter any email when registering a what you call it, a checkout of cart or whatever, a checkout, an order. So enter any email when registering an order. That's a business logic one, because this should come from the from the account. It should come from the account. So which one is this? Business, broken access control. It will often bugs are like touching on multiple fields. Right now we've just been able to put in this order with an email address. When we go into the admin section, there's no way to check that it actually came from that user. Of course, we have the admin section over here. No. Yeah, is this the incognito? Yeah, that's the incognito. So I thought we were still logged in as admin anywhere, but we aren't. Let's just log in here as admin and use the proper password this time, test. And I'm going to check my orders. There's quite a few new ones in here, but if I look at this order, it says coming from info@thexssrat.com. User info@thexssrat.com. Only in here, when the actual user puts in an order, can I see that broken image actually appearing. There we go. You thought that was an issue, but it's not. Voila, easy. So always verify proof of concepts, that kind of shit. So we verified that wasn't really an issue now, but we can see the username, or at least the user when they properly order something. So what does that mean? That I'm going to register.php, and in this case, I'm going to try to get a call back to that server. So I'm just going to put in that username. Then can I do this as a email? Who knows? At test.com. And password test. Something went wrong. Looking good so far. Now we log in. And we are in. So we view an item. We add it to the cart. We go to the cart. We proceed to checkout. Order successfully placed. Okay, so the order is successfully placed. Look into my account, don't see anything. I am not the admin, so I don't see anything. Admin should be logged in here. Admin doesn't see anything. Why is that? Because that URL thing that I told you guys about before. Manage orders. See this really weird one right here. See that thing before the ad actually disappears. And now in my Burp Suite's browser in here, where I had the webhook.site open, I can see the actual request coming in. So there's a blind XSS in here. Now we tried to steal the cookies. We don't see any. So that means that they are protected. That doesn't mean we cannot do anything on this site. Maybe there's some cool JavaScript you can think of. Let me know if you have something interesting for me. You could do a lot here, by the way. You could do things like keylogging, you could do things like crypto mining. There's a lot that you could do with blind XSS. You could try to steal data. So in this case, there isn't really anything interesting on the page here, but I could try to make a request as this user with JavaScript or whatever, grab some items or grab some whatever, and then send that over the CSRF tokens if their CSRF tokens are active. There's a lot of things that you might be able to think about, but that's how I would look for XSS on a website like this. Would be more blind XSS, and then try to keep track of where you entered your attack vectors, because if you get multiple, like, blind XSS vectors aren't triggered immediately. So if you enter an XSS attack vector, a blind one, on 50 different websites, of course you can see the origin where that came from, but you might be confused for a little bit. Here you see the refer. So the refer is where you're going to have to look if you want to do that. Now, can that always happen? No, you saw it. Course could be like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. You're not making a request in that one. You're only allowed to do this or that. You might be finding some kind of course workaround or whatever, but then it'll be very difficult to find, of course. I'm literally reaching in the blind here. Luckily, I have the backend where I can verify each and every attack vector like this. And once again, that's how I would look for something like blind XSS on here. Even if I don't have admin privileges, I would just flood that attack vector across the entire website somehow. This or whatever you want to use. Generate a list of, let's say, 10 vectors that do this, but in a different way and different contexts. Now we only know that it's in the JavaScript or an HTML context here, because that's where our data lands. It doesn't land in the JavaScript context, at least not for cross-site scripting purposes. So that's nice. It gives us a nice list of attack vectors with an image with an on air, an iframe plus an onload, XHR with direct send, minimal fetches. ChatGPT, come on, dude. What are you doing? So ChatGPT has an exploit in it. Great. It will literally render SVGs if you put it in HTML like this. I'm not even gonna bother reporting it because it's more like a functional bug, and you can clearly see that it doesn't do the requests here. And if I go to the networking tab, you're not going to see the request to webhook.site in here. Webhook.site in here. That's the ones that that's the ones that were blocked because of me, and that's some stuff that's not relevant. So I did make the requests myself. Once again, I can prove that, and I can clearly see that no requests were made by ChatGPT in my developer console here. But it gives me a little list of attack vectors which I could use. Thank you very much, ChatGPT. Oh, I like the mutation observer. That's a nice one. I might have to make a separate video on that. But anyway, that's how I would look for cross-site scripting. I've gone over how to explore this website. I've gone over which parameters to look for. I've gone over what attack vectors to try on a simple web shop like this. I mean, there isn't a whole lot left here, but that's also because I'm working with a small website. Now imagine that you have to do this on a massive website with different privilege levels that is much bigger than this one. It's still just a simple web shop. More websites like this are going to come, but it's massive if you ask me. That's why you can't get bored of bug bounties. Try it. Try it, my friends. That's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, amazing hackers.